Duke Luca Abel tore down the original palace in Karnaca, where his father once pinned a medal to my chest. Over the ruins, the Duke built a structure that cost enough to feed everyone in Serkonos for years. A sprawling estate to humble all others, a monument to his ego. I owe it to the people of my homeland to make this right. In Dunwall, we were content to look the other way as long as the silver kept flowing. I've got to get inside the Grand Palace, deal with the Duke, and find a way to steal Delilah's soul.
Can you feel it? This is my last night. Soon, I'll dissolve into the great nothing.
You deserve peace, my love.
I've stayed too long. Find Delilah's spirit. Trap her with this cage of dead flesh. Set me free.
I don't understand.
You will, very soon.
Let the end game begin. This is mission number 8 out of 9 total, and we are finally taking on the Duke himself. In the travelogue, we can find a little bit of details about the Dust District and the Grand Palace. Most of it we've seen already, and there's strangely little detail on just how much Corvo changed time from knocking Stilton out instead, but that was one of the few real feel-good moments of the game so far, seeing how much you actually managed to improve the world. Now, around this time, I think... First of all, let's read this letter. By the Mayhew family, you might remember Mayhew as Alexei, the guard who died very, very early on in the game. It was basically Emily's bodyguard. You can pretty much call her captain of the guard, I suppose. Now, around this mission, I think, because I've always found enough, is where you would get the gift from Hypatia. I think it happens when you haven't found all the blueprints.
Go after the Duke. Another aristocratic boss, living in a palace and sucking the marrow out of the same people who built it.
Yes, I regret my affiliation with the young Duke, but his father and I were close. It was my hope that Luca would eventually grow up and learn that his actions as ruler of Serkonos have very real consequences.
He could always count on the backing of Dunwall's finances and navy. Maybe without that, he would have developed a healthy respect for the people of Serkonos. Fear of the executioner's block has been a fine motivator for many a ruler.
Once the Duke falls, it's my hope that we can build something better here. Something more representative and inclusive.
So Stilton is now part of our group, which is pretty cool. It's nice to see him there. Obviously, if he is still insane or dead, he is not there at all.
Empress Jessamine herself once offered me a suite at Dunwall Tower, complete with a laboratory, the finest apparatus in the Isles. I declined, of course. I'm not some conjurer from penny novels. Besides, I have a great fondness for my privacy, and my interests often find me coming and going in the odd hours of night. It's hard not to consider what might have been different had I plotted a different course through my early years. Was there something I might have said or done when Delilah was my apprentice that could have prevented all of this? Or is character a fixed star we must all follow in darkness?
I think we've proven with what we did with Stilton that everyone can change.
Now we're going after the one who started it all. The Duke himself. I forgot the thrill of it. Planning drop-off points, picking the approach. Thinking about the best ways to kill somebody who lives behind high walls. But with the excitement, there's a black echo that comes back to me for what I did at Dunwall Tower. deserves killing, though. It's Duke Luca Abel. I've loved a number of women, and even a couple of men. But I've never loved anyone like my Deirdre. After I left home, those first years on the streets, she's all that kept me from the bottom of the river. I could sleep on a pile of garbage under a leaky awning as long as she was there with me. Sharing a tin of potted meat or a bottle of brandy. And we nicked during the day. The Duke and his little brother came through Dunwall. And Deirdre and I got in their way as they stepped out of their fancy coach. The Duke goaded his brother, calling us wharf roaches. And it was the brother who swung the stick that killed her. Splitting her skull, there were wooden gazelles on top of the coach. And I snapped one off and drove it into his eye, as deep as it would go. Deirdre was already gone. Dead as a doornail. Lying in the muck, staring up at the gray Dunwall sky. On the run after that. I was hunted by the City Watch and even members of the Grand Guard up from Zirkonos. People looked at me like I was cursed, spitting whenever I got close. Everyone knew I'd bring trouble. Even the gangs. The Duke's brother has been dead for a long time. But now was my chance to get back at Luca Abel for setting him off against pretty, young Deirdre. Nothing was the same for me after they took her away.
So now we know exactly how close the fate of the Duke and Megan is intertwined. Let's hear more of what exactly we're planning for this. This'll come in handy.
Are you ready for this?
I've broken into palaces before. They're made to keep out armies. Stopping a single man who's dedicated to his cause, that's another story altogether.
Getting inside might not be the hard part. The Duke doesn't exactly run a tight ship.
Taking down Duke Abel is only part of the puzzle. You've also got to find whatever it is he's keeping for Delilah.
You were cryptic about what you gleaned from visiting the Dust District, which is fine. The world is better with a hint of mystery. But once you're inside the Grand Palace, whatever you do could affect things in Karnaca for years to come. Remember that.
I've got a map of the Grand Palace for you, and I know something that may be useful. There's a hidden lever in the pantry that opens a passage to the Duke's vault. If he's keeping anything precious for Delilah, I suspect that's where it'll be. Beyond that, good hunting.
I'll see what I can do. I know things in Karnaca are fragile. Emily and I have a lot to think about after all this is done.
It's not widely known, but the Duke has a body double. The man is the spitting image of Luca.
Meet me at the skiff.
A likable fellow, and quite humble. I've no idea where they found him, but the Duke's double has spent years passing for the Duke. I suppose Luca always hoped his double would be there to take an assassin's bullet. Take care. I hope to see you again.
Well, I hope I've been of some help to you. It's good to feel useful here near the end of my time. Look at you. You've aged better than most, Royal Protector. I hear the Duke's wine cellar is exquisite, if you happen to pass through.
I'll keep an eye out.
I remember when you took me from Kaldwin's Bridge so long ago.
And that's the end of what they have to say.
Ready to visit the Duke?
We should head out.
At the palace, the Duke has a look-alike body double, meant to confuse assassins. A friend of mine washes the linens and said the double is a smoker, if that helps. Maybe you can talk to him. She says he's a nice guy. What a shitty job, pretending to be a tyrant like Duke Luca Abel.
Why don't they just overthrow him?
He's got an army, control of the mines, and he's had your support from the capital. At the Duke's parties, people carve up the country while eating boiled crab.
There were parties like that in Dunwall. Toadies sucking up to Emily made me want to be back on the streets in Serkonos.
You're forgetting what that's like. I watched those party lights from the roof of the abandoned butcher shop where I slept. In the flooded district.
I know you struggled. After years at court, I'm a nobody again. But what I've seen here will stay with me when I return to Dunwall Tower. Being in Karnaca again has given me perspective.
Good. After you've eliminated the Duke, find what he's holding for Delilah and take it. When you're finished, I'll pick you up in the skiff.
So this is the district on the way to the palace itself. So we have a couple of things we can do first. Involving, of course, as always, the black market. Some more whalebone here and a lovely fish slice. Which, I guess... Aw, no real splash. You can overhear a conversation here that sort of leads us in the right path.
Stuff comes in. It's got to get where it's going. That's why they call it the black market. Can't just sit here. Too much chance a Grand Guard catches on to us, or maybe rightful owners coming to pick it up.
What's the delay getting it to the shop? Betty afraid we'll get caught?
The guy that runs the shop is nervous. But if they just let us move it straight off the boat. Now, I got a friend over at the shop. Been running protection for black market shops for years here in Karnaca and over at Colorado. So there's basically no risk.
What's your friend's name?
That's a secret. These guys deal with me and nobody else. Job security.
The path to the black market heist in this mission is kind of complicated. You mess around with a lot of things until eventually you get there, and then it's not really that valuable at this point. We're pretty rich and we have everything we already want anyway. Now that we have the lucky needle times 4, we can be pretty damn loose with the requirement for keeping sleep darts around. I'm gonna be shooting a lot of them, which is fine because usually we find them right on the corpse anyway. It's so good. Not only that, with the black market right here, we can just go and replenish them if need be. Not to mention there'll be some left around in the mission either way. Before we can go much further in, there is a watchtower that we have to go ahead and deal with. If we were playing High Chaos, like I did in the High Chaos playthrough, walking up there, putting a rewire tool is pretty entertaining. But obviously we are not going to do that this time around. We are going to just disable it. This is the new lovely rune redirected blink. Time freezes when we are aiming our blink. It's great, actually. It's really useful. And here we are. There's a lot of treasure and stuff in this district, not to mention, of course, some bone charms and runes and stuff. We're gonna be picking it all up. But as always, I'm gonna be cutting out the boring parts of finding all the little money and so on. Nothing particularly mega exciting is here. But some good stuff.
You say the boat's moored in the bay and they haven't paid any taxes.
Exactly.
They'll pay for that. We should go out there and get our due.
So not only are we involving now the people of the boat, now we're dealing with the people that are the guards, and then we're gonna get to the actual people in the black market, and then there's a code to a gate, and then there's a code to get inside the black market. There's a whole lot of stuff.
Is there a wall of light protecting the palace anyway? Who's going to attack a man like the Duke?
Good question. Feels quite nice having 4 strong arm charms. There used to be a bug that strong arms actually increase the length of your choking. Luckily that's been fixed a couple of patches ago and it's much nicer using it this time around. And there we go, wall of light taken care of.
Wait, I'll have a look over there.
I'm gonna go on a sleeping dart spree and take out a lot of these people.
Hey, you. You seem different. Can you help me out with a bit of coin?
You got it, buddy.
You're a good one. You know, there's a place near here, in some rocks behind a fountain. People have always left offerings there. That's where I started having those odd dreams. I don't go there anymore, but you might want to check it out.
That sounds like bone charms or runes to me.
There's no such permit, Captain. I know the laws in Karnaca.
Laws change. The Duke's given the Grand Guard leeway to create new fees when needed. You know who else had a nice shop? That clockmaker.
Serafina? Her shop burned down.
Yeah, my report said it was probably the Howlers. But no one knows how the fire started.
Captain, her brother died in that fire.
Asleep inside, drunk from what I remember. You've got until tomorrow to pay up.
The Grand Guard is particularly nasty bunch of people. Now, even though he was just quite bad against this guy, I can't take him out without him panicking, so I'm gonna have to choke this guy out first, and then choke out this guy. Main reason we're bothering to go into this place is because there's a code to a gate that I mentioned before that we needed. But also, inside the cash register there's a key to the shopkeeper's apartment, which has a bunch of cool stuff, but also has, there's the details on that by the way, also has a different path to go to the Grand Palace, which is where we're going. There's the code to the gate, 623, written in colored ink, which isn't cheap. So there's that. We can get the key to this apartment eventually, and we'll go through there. It's not particularly amazing, just a simpler path to walk through. But coming here, we sort of see there's a little ambush planned. The Howlers are up to something. So let's sleep dart. Get back 1. 2. Take out this one. You'd think they'd damage themselves a bit when they fall into glass like that, but luckily they're usually fine. That's 3 out of 3 so far. Pretty useful. I always think there should be more stuff in here, but there's just a little bit of bolts, some Addermire, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Every time I leave, I feel like I forgot something. There's gotta be, but no, there isn't really. Just a typewriter. There is, however, some Howler dust, which we can get some use out of. Inside the black market itself, it's another Howler. Now he can be tricky to deal with.
To browse my offerings. I am proud to say we are still open and fully stocked despite the recent incidents at other shops.
Lovely upgrades. Not that we ever use the pistol, ever, really, but we're sitting at about 10,000 coins, so I mean, we might as well, I suppose.
For better weaponry.
To upgrade the Masterwork pistol, we need all of those upgrades, so I guess let's just get all those upgrades. Now, the reason that Howler is so tricky to deal with is because if a lot of combat and stuff starts happening, the black market guy just closes his shutters and then just hides in safety, which means we can't talk to him and not get to buy everything we want to buy. So combination of the Howler Dust followed by a Sleep Dart played that out pretty well. Finally, I think Determined Traveler is probably the best one. Perfect aim rather than a more AoE type thing. Again, only probably really gonna get useful against clockwork robots or environmental stuff. Stack up on Sleeping Darts though. And of course pick up the note that disables the carriage rails, which means they're no longer electrified, which means we can walk on them, which is exactly what we need.
Come back soon, if I'm still around.
Oh, I'm sure you will be. This is the shrine the beggar was talking about, and as you can imagine, it's an outsider shrine.
You're back at the heart of your homeland. A bigger, better palace than the one you sailed away from so long ago. Feeling nostalgic? Will you ever be comfortable in Dunwall again? Assuming you make it back? You've seen the suffering here, the decay, but, dear Corvo, would you even have lifted a finger if the Duke hadn't put Emily in harm's way? Be honest now. In any case, I know what you're after. The heart you carry can only hold one spirit at a time. So, if you want to walk out with a piece of Delilah, you better be ready to leave something behind.
They make a bit of a moral quandary about that, making you feel kind of like something you did was wrong back in the 15 years, and I don't quite buy it. I feel like if Emily and Corvo knew just how bad it was, they probably would do something, but they're an entire country away. They probably didn't really have all the details. So I can see some of that being on them, and that maybe they should, as Empress, should be able to keep better control over everything, but not everything.
But it's back on the boat.
No exceptions. Either you have the code, or I assume something's off. My boss's orders.
Damn, open this door.
You know I won't do this. You're wasting time.
More code for the gate, we have it already, but it talks about the boat thing that we're going to go get eventually. As in now. But as we get here, it's a dead worker. And the boat is opened and empty. Looks like the guards came here and did their thing. Confiscated merchandise. Look for the target mannequins on the balcony. Yeah, they took everything. Well, at least they left us some jelly deals. Well, we're gonna hunt them down. We're gonna leave them with the stuff. The mannequins are up here. These little things with buckets on their head.
We're playing dice tonight. You in?
Normally there's two guards here. I think I probably scared them away while exploring the rest of the level earlier.
This whole setup is a huge pain in the ass. Timing windows that ignore the tides, fake boat manifests, and private door codes. Might be easier just to play it straight. Pick up and deliver goods. Anyway, so I don't forget it. The code for the black market shop is Zirconin wine is better than Tivian prisons. Idiots.
So yeah, I pretty much had everything else. There was some money there that I got though. Last place to check out is the bloodfly infested apartment. That has some genuine interesting stuff in it aside from all the bloodflies. I'm gonna spend some of the combustion bolts, we have enough of them. Maybe not here. There's a rune in here. No one's been here for quite a while. Letter from an admirer of Dowd. So, Claudio and Alfred are corresponding about Dowd and sent them the book, a penny novel called The Knife of Dunwall, which is sort of half true, half not so true. Did get the names right though, and there's the man himself. Now that we have the code, we can go rob this poor guy.
Zirconan wine is better than Tivian prisons.
And better Crystolian clap than Morellian gout. All right.
Sorry, buddy. Like I said, though, not that much stuff we need. We're pretty much full up on everything, except the incendiary bolts we just used for that blood-infested apartment. At least we can pick up some pistol bullets now, that we increase the capacity. And then we're pretty much done. That was it for the black market. I assume it's a lot more useful for some people, but at this point on, when we haven't really been throwing away all our stuff, we're kind of full up already. Finally, before we move on, this is the apartment they were talking about, the shopkeeper's apartment. It's currently been seized by the Grand Guard, but we have the key. This action is necessary to prevent miscreants from bypassing the Wall of Light. Yeah, well, that's what we just did, except we've already turned off the Wall of Light. We're gonna chomp down on a banana and then rob the place as we do. Blueprints here. Ideally, I should have probably grabbed this and then gone to the black market to upgrade before I took him out, but it should be fine. All the witches have left the conservatory. There's a minor treasure here, but mostly what we're after is this bone charm. Electrical burst, not that great. Now, of course, we have the opportunity to leave, but before we do, there's a safe. I have no idea how to get the safe, except the default number for the safe, 123, is in the picture. Surely the guy who sells the safe wouldn't be us. Well, I guess he was. Thanks for the money, buddy. Now we can leave, and off to the Grand Palace.